heard the warnings from the aid groups on the ground. We've heard the warnings from the medical teams on the ground who are struggling to continue to provide crucial medical support during this siege. And now, of course, we've had the warnings from the United Nations saying that what we are witnessing now is a humanitarian catastrophe unfolding in Gaza. We heard earlier today from the UN's World Food Programme. They are appealing for $74 million to support their relief efforts over the next 90 days. There is a huge appeal for international support on this front, and we have already seen numerous countries stepping up, preparing aid to get to Egypt, to cross in via the Rafah border crossing. Of course, getting it across appears to be the key issue at this stage. And we heard from King Abdullah of Jordan, which has been amongst those countries preparing aid to travel onwards to Egypt. He spoke very clearly at the Cairo Peace Summit about the need to get aid into Gaza, and also about the double standard that he says that the world is seeing when it comes to providing that humanitarian relief for Gaza. Take a listen to this statement. He said, anywhere else attacking civilian infrastructure and deliberately starving an entire population of food, water, electricity and basic necessities would be condemned. Accountability would be enforced immediately and unequivocally. And it has been done before, recently in another conflict, but not in Gaza. And as you can see, we have seen that outpouring of condemnation from world leaders, particularly here in the Middle East. And we have seen that reaction from the Popular Front as well. Protests taking place, demonstrations in solidarity with the Palestinian people. In fact, earlier today, my team and I spoke to Palestinian families, Palestinian refugee families who have lived in Jordan all their lives, but still have family members inside the Gaza Strip that they haven't been able to return to, they haven't been able to meet with. They say they're checking in with them every hour, hoping they're still alive. And what they're hearing from their families is that they simply are struggling to go on with the lack of electricity, running out of food, running out of water. It is a humanitarian catastrophe, as said by the UN. Fareed?
Thank you, Nada. Great reporting. Stay safe. Next on GPS, I speak with one of Israel's most decorated soldiers, former Prime Minister Ehud Barak. I'll ask him about the potential ground invasion when we come back.
The Whole Story with Anderson Cooper, tonight at 10 on CNN.
Your record label is taking off, but so is your sound engineer. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Indeed Instant Match instantly delivers quality candidates matching your job description. Visit Indeed.com/hire.
My frequent heartburn had me taking antacid after antacid all day long. But with Prilosec OTC, just one pill a day blocks heartburn for a full 24 hours. For one and done heartburn relief, Prilosec OTC, one pill a day, 24 hours, zero heartburn.
Sore throat got your tongue? Mucinex Insta-Sue Sore Throat Medicated Drops. Uniquely formulated for rapid relief that lasts and lasts. That's my baby! Get Mucinex Insta-Sue. It's comeback season.
There are more identity threats than you realize. LifeLock alerts you and works to fix problems with a dedicated restoration specialist. Go to lifelock.com.
Verizon Small Business Days are back from October 16th to the 22nd. Get a free tech check and special offers like a free 5G phone. Plus, switch, keep your number, and get up to $300 off with Verizon Business. It's your business. It's your Verizon.
Got the cabin for 3 days. It'll be sweet. What? I'm 12 hours short.
Have a fun weekend.
Was that necessary?
No. Neither is a blown weekend. With Paycom, employees do their own payroll, so you can fix problems before they become problems. Get Paycom and make the unnecessary unnecessary. See you down the line.
Mornings. Cough? Congestion?
I'm feeling better. All in one and done with new Mucinex Kickstart.
Headache?
Better now.
Mucinex Kickstart gives all-in-one and done relief with a morning jolt of instant cooling sensation. It's comeback season.
Stars Play in Abu Dhabi is the region's leading streaming service that brings you the magic of films and the excitement of sports to your favorite device, be it a television or your mobile phone. With a business like ours, we need a range of talent from technology as well as creative. We found Abu Dhabi to be our hub for accessing that type of talent.
ADT self-setup featuring Google Nest products. Now you can easily install your system that's backed by ADT's 24/7 monitoring with no long-term contracts. So you have a home with no worries. Brought to you by ADT.
Sure, you can get data everywhere, but you have to use it all the time. That's not really you. With TracFone, you can get great coverage all on nationwide 5G for a lot less. Plans start at $15 a month, no contract. TracFone.
Feeling sluggish or weighed down? Could be a sign that your digestive system isn't at its best. Metamucil gummies make it easy to get the fiber you need, promoting your digestive health for a better you. Metamucil gummies, the easy way to get your daily fiber.
Sleep more deeply and wake up rejuvenated. With Purple's new mattresses, fall asleep 20% faster, have less aches and pains, and sleep uninterrupted. Visit purple.com or
That first time you take a step back
I made that.
with your very own online store.
I sold that.
And you can manage it all in one place.
I built this.
And it was easy with a partner that puts you first. GoDaddy.
Closed captioning brought to you by Mesobook.com.
We only represent mesothelioma victims and their families. Call for a free book.
Call 800-282-4444 or go to Mesobook.com.
As Israel's military masses on its border with Gaza ahead of an expected ground invasion, I want to bring in someone uniquely qualified to talk about IDF strategy. Upon retiring from the IDF in 1995, Lieutenant General Ehud Barak was Israel's most decorated soldier. He would go on to serve his country as defense minister and prime minister. As prime minister, he led Israel through the Second Intifada or Palestinian uprising. And as defense minister, he oversaw Israel's massive ground operation in Gaza against Hamas in 2009. Ehud Barak joins me now from Tel Aviv. Prime Minister Barak, let me begin by asking you about this siege. Do you believe it is militarily necessary to have such a dramatic cutoff of water, fuel, food, which means hospitals can't operate? I don't recall, when the United States had faced insurgencies in Iraq, that they ever imposed this kind of complete siege of a civilian population. Is it militarily necessary, you think?
It's not the utmost important element, but it's part of it, and I don't believe that there is already a major crisis in Gaza. Basically, whoever went to the south and lives there in these new camps, tent camps started by the UNRWA, will get these convoys through the humanitarian corridor, and Israel will not let Gaza feel empty of medical kind of materials for the hospitals and so on. So it's important, but it's not the most important element.
Tell me about the goal. The Netanyahu government has said the goal of their strategy is to destroy Hamas. Do you believe that's possible?
Yeah, I think that the goal should be to eliminate any military capability of Hamas and its capacity to reign over the Gaza Strip. We do not intend to erase the ideology or the wishes and dreams of many members of Hamas, and it's all around our world. They are part of a wider Muslim Brotherhood and AKP in Turkey and some people in Qatar. We cannot erase the Hamas as an entity, but as a operator, military operator in Gaza, and as the ruler of Gaza, we can do it. Of course, it cannot be completed from the air. It will need this massive ground operation with thousands, probably tens of thousands of boots on the ground.
The Biden administration is, from what best we can tell, cautioning Israel to be careful not to go in too big, to kind of devastate Gaza completely. Again, you've done this. Is that possible? Or is the idea of going to have to go in massive numbers, go door to door, tunnel to tunnel, building to building?
Look, Look, it's I would say that I never use the word inevitable in military affairs, but I would say that in 90+% that we'll see in the coming days a major invasion into Gaza Strip. It will take, even to take the northern part of the Gaza Strip will take some time, probably 2 weeks or whatever, 3 weeks, depend on what pace it all be one, but to clean it from the physical and human resources of the Hamas might take many weeks or several months before it's completed. And we are aware we do not intend to stay there forever. The whole operation has to face 4 different constraints. One is the hostages, the other is the risk that it will spread into much wider conflict with Hezbollah in Lebanon, probably others. The third one is how to manage this dialogue with the international law. We are committed to the international law, and we are fully aware that our universal support and legitimacy will erode a long time when the numbers of people who are citizens who are hit there will grow. In spite of the fact that the reason for them being there is the fact that Hamas coerced them into becoming kind of human shield. We are aware of these constraints, and the last one is the question to whom we can pass the torch, because we do not intend to stay there for years to come. So all these are interacting, intertwined, and interconnected kind of constraints. Only those like the war cabinet or the upper echelon of our military command who sits in real time, facing the data, the facts, and the leakages that emerge, can run it. We cannot predict in advance how exactly it will develop.
And let me just ask you about the question you raised. Whom will you pass this to? Because it seems to me that whomever you try, whether it's the Arabs, whether it's the Europeans, whether it's the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, they're not going to want to come into Gaza on the back of Israeli tanks. So how do you solve that problem?
I will tell you an anecdote. In 2008, as you mentioned, I was Minister of Defense. Between one of those rounds that usually ended with certain understanding with Hamas, mediated by Egypt and giving relative calmness for a year and a half or 2 years. In one of them, I thought of the same. Why not to get rid of the Hamas at all and pass it to someone? So I approached Mubarak and asked him, why don't you arrange, once we eliminate Hamas military capabilities, you can demand from us to withdraw with no condition from day one. After 3 weeks, it was easier at that time. We will capitulate to your demand. You will organize a multinational Arab force led by you, probably Moroccans, Emiratis, whatever, Omanis, soldiers, and you take it for very short periods, 3 or 6 months, during which you will bring back to the place the originally internationally recognized owner of the place, which is the Palestinian Authority. Your viewers might already forget it, but originally after Oslo Agreement, we gave Gaza to the Palestinian Authority. They were removed from power through a violent coup d'etat by the Hamas. So Mubarak answered, no, Barak, you conquered it in 67, it's now yours. I will never, ever put my hands back into it. So I saw why couldn't I go to the bride itself, to Abu Mazen. So I don't want to cut a long story short. Abu Mazen told me, basically, I cannot afford coming back to power in the Gaza Strip sitting on Israeli bayonets. I didn't like the answer, but I cannot tell you that it doesn't carry certain logic into it. But it was 15 years ago. Now, after we have another 15 years of peace with Egypt and Jordan, after we have the Abraham Accord, just 2.5 weeks ago, we already discussed the trilateral deal with the United States, Saudi Arabia and Israel. And in a way, I suspect the Hamas pointed the timing of the attack, which they prepare for more than a year now, in order to torpedo exactly this trilateral deal which was perceived by them as ignoring the Palestinian issue. So basically, when you think it is this way, probably what was impossible in 2018 might be possible now, backed by Qatari or Saudi financial kind of support, and backed by Arab League and probably UN Security Council resolution. They can take the whole area, make it, keep it quiet for a few months after we leave, and bring back the Palestinian Authority to take over.
We have to take a break. When we come back, stay with me, Ehud Barak. I will ask Ehud Barak whether the peace plan he proposed between Israelis and Palestinians so many years ago is now a distant dream, or is it something that can still be revised when we come back?
The new CNN Prime Time is where the truth shines. The day's biggest stories. The night's most essential reporting. This is the new CNN Prime Time. Weeknights starting at 7 on CNN.
With the push of a button, Constant Contact's AI tools help you know what to say, even when you don't. Constant Contact, helping the small stand tall.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. If you have or are eligible for Medicaid, please listen closely. You may be eligible for a Medicare Advantage plan from WellCare with a zero or low plan premium. Call now. We can answer your questions and help you enroll over the phone. WellCare provides access to essential benefits that go beyond original Medicare, such as dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage with free home delivery. Free over-the-counter healthcare items, free gym membership, and home-delivered meals. Plus, extra benefits like WellCare's telehealth services, including online doctor visits. WellCare's contracted with Medicare to provide plans that may be perfect for you. Call 1-877-297-3598. Now, that's 1-877-297-3598. WellCare.
MLB chooses T-Mobile for Business for 5G solutions to not only enhance the fan experience, but to advance how the game is played. Now's the time to see what America's largest 5G network can do for your business.
From pep in their step to shine in their coats, when people switch their dog's food to the farmer's dog, the effects can seem like magic. But there's no magic involved. It's just smarter, healthier pet food. It's amazing what real food can do.
When your gut is out of balance, your body gives you signs. So if you're frustrated with occasional bloating, gas, or abdominal discomfort, help stop the frustration and start taking Align every day. Align Probiotic was specifically designed by gastroenterologists to help relieve your occasional digestive upsets, so you can enjoy life. When you feel the signs, it's time to try Align.
This wasn't no bear. It was like a bear squatch.
Dad, what's a bear squatch?
It's a cross between a bear and a Sasquatch. It's made up. He's usually sleeping.
He'll never sleep again.
Verizon Small Business Days are back from October 16th to the 22nd. Get a free tech check and special offers like a free 5G phone. Plus, switch, keep your number, and get up to $300 off with Verizon Business. It's your business. It's your Verizon.
For generations, Asuyus has been the small-town gem of the Okanagan and a home of Canada's warmest welcome. You can help keep it that way. Visit and see for yourself. We're home to terrific holiday adventures for everyone. Relax, dine, shop, and explore. Through your support of local business and by sharing your experiences, Asuyus will continue to thrive for generations to come. Plan your visit today at destinationasuyus.com.
Targets the root cause of joint soreness and stiffness with a unique combination of 5 key natural ingredients. Key ingredients backed by 5 clinical studies.
I love this product. I'm telling you it works.
Instaflex Advanced is the #1 selling joint brand at GNC, but you can only get your complimentary sample by texting LOVE to 321321. Plus, text now and we'll include a tube of Instaflex pain cream for fast-acting relief absolutely free. Text LOVE to 321321 today.
I'm Melanie Zanona in Washington, and this is CNN.
In July of 2000, President Bill Clinton welcomed Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak and Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat to his presidential retreat at Camp David. Their aim was to end the decades-long conflict once and for all. After 2 weeks, they appeared tantalizingly close to a historic deal until the Palestinians pulled out and talks broke down. Later that year, violence erupted across the region to begin a Palestinian uprising known as the Second Intifada. By then, prospects of a lasting peace were long gone. Back with me, one of the key players from that summit, Ehud Barak. Prime Minister Barak, is that dream of a two-state solution, just a complete fantasy at this point? I mean, I think about the map that Clinton proposed right at the end, the so-called Clinton parameters, which I know comes from Dennis Ross and was not accepted by either side. But, it gives you a sense that there was a possibility of a kind of rational solution here. The Palestinians got in that map, which was not accepted, but it was close to what was being offered, 93%, 94% of what they had. Is all that dead with this wave of settlements that has taken place in the last 20 years and Palestinian, the Palestinian Authority not having much credibility anyway?
Look, it's not the right time to discuss it because we are now at war. And first of all, we are focused on eliminating the military capabilities of Hamas and making it out of the picture in the Gaza Strip. But if you ask me on the longer term, there is a old Roman saying, if you don't know which port you want to reach, no wind will take you there. And those who sail know that if you have a headwind wind, you have to zigzag in order to reach this objective. I never lose eye contact with this vision. It's not about dreams, it's about a vision for the future, which is needed for Israel, not because of justice for the Palestinians, because our own future security and identity. But there is a great debate in Israel. The other side of the political map, led by Netanyahu and these two racist messianic guys that he joined hands with, they have a different. They want one state. They want to block the whole thing. In a way, at the foundation of this conflict of the last 2 weeks sits their strategy was taken by Netanyahu in the last 5 years could be summarized in the sentence, Hamas is an asset and the Palestinian Authority is a liability, rather than the other way around. Because, why this? Because if the Hamas is still alive and kicking, no one can argue with us, start negotiation with the Palestinians. Since we can easily, the government can easily say, Abu Mazen does not control even half of his own people, and with the Hamas, no one will require from us to negotiate with terror organization. So basically, it's an indirect way to block the possibility of two states. So it's not the time to deal with it because we have to unite and first of all defeat Hamas on the ground. Later on, there will come a day when we left Camp David, I'd say whether it takes 5, 15, it's already more than 20 or 50 years. At the end, the time will come to make an agreement that will come at certain point. You will need magnifying glass to see the difference between what was on the table and what will be concluded. And few years after a deal will be struck, no one can explain why the hell it took so long and needed to bury so many people on both sides.
Finally and quickly, Prime Minister Barak, you said Benjamin Netanyahu is to blame for the greatest failure in Israeli history. Can he survive as Prime Minister after this failure?
If you ask the people, they will tell you no. He got the trust, the mandate to build the government some 10 months ago or a little bit more. The trust evaporated during the 7th of October, totally. No one trusts, especially with these two Michiganders in his government. If you look at the polls that were passed in the last week, you will find that 70% of Israeli public wants Netanyahu to resign. Half of them wants him to resign immediately, others say at the end of the war. But in their mind, they have Israeli war. 6 days war was 1 week. 73 war, huge war, 3 weeks. The longest conflict in the last generation, 5 years ago, was less than 2 months. So instead of 2 months, let's bite our lips and fight and put it on the shelf. But when you start to think in terms of a long road that might take, as he mentioned, many months, probably few years, or more than a year, this is paved it in a different way. I don't believe that the public trusts Netanyahu to lead this war. Everyone is happy that Gantz and Eisenkot, two opposition leaders who both happen to be chief of staff of the armed forces, and one of them, Gantz, even Minister of Defense, that makes the people feel more secure that irresponsible decisions won't be made. But having said that, people would expect accountability. I kind of sorry to tell you that there is no Hebrew word for accountability. Think of the reason for it, but it's time to demand accountability. And I think that, everyone tells you, oh, it's over. It's not over. Netanyahu is focused on survival and on releasing himself, and what we call the poison machine, that blaming others and being responsible is working 24/7. Behind the scenes, there are briefing against Gantz, against Eisenkot, against the army leadership, against the intelligence. Everyone responsible except for the man at the top.
Ehud Barak, pleasure to have you on, sir. I hope we can have you on again. Thank you. Next up, David Petraeus and Andrew Roberts on lessons for insurgencies everywhere.
Your heart is the beat of life. If you have heart failure, entrust your heart to Entresto. Entresto helps improve your heart's ability to pump blood to the body. Don't take Entresto if pregnant. It can cause harm or death to an unborn baby. And don't take Entresto with an ACE inhibitor or aliskiren, or if you've had angioedema with an ACE or ARB. The most serious side effects are angioedema, low blood pressure, kidney problems, or high blood potassium. Ask your doctor if Entresto is right for you.
Verizon Small Business Days are back from October 16th to the 22nd. Get a free tech check and special offers like a free 5G phone. Plus, switch, keep your number, and get up to $300 off with Verizon Business. It's your business. It's your Verizon.
When you have auto glass damage, trust SafeLight. My customer really relies on his car's advanced safety system.
You're right. Guess what happened?
So when he got a cracked windshield, he turned to SafeLight. We're the experts at replacing glass and recalibrating your vehicle's camera so automatic emergency braking and lane departure warning work properly to get you back on the road safely.
And that means a lot.
Schedule now.
SafeLight Repair, SafeLight Replace.
Hi, I'm Jason. I've lost 228 pounds on GoLo. I don't ever want to go back to wearing a 4XL shirt and not being able to climb up the stairs without taking a break. So I'm committed to GoLo for life.
Meet Martha. Martha is 75 years old and has been on Medicare for 10 years now. But she's a bit cranky because she heard the 2024 Medicare Advantage plans are now available during the Medicare annual enrollment period. And she wants details.
I'm already on Medicare. Why should I call and check up on my Medicare plan?
Hi, Martha. Plans and benefits can change each and every year. That's why it's important to call to get your free 2024 Medicare benefits checkup.
I already have my Medicare card. I am not calling.
Martha, right now is the Medicare annual enrollment period. 2024 Medicare Advantage plans are now available, so everyone on Medicare can call to see if a Medicare Advantage plan may be better for you. You can even call to see if there are any changes to your current Medicare plan in the coming year.
They probably won't answer the phone.
Well, Martha, if you call 800-882-0987, a licensed insurance agent will speak with you and look up your plan options and see if there is a plan that will better fit your healthcare needs.
Why don't I get these automatically?
Martha, 2024 plans are now available, but you won't get a 2024 Medicare Advantage plan automatically.
I think I called before, so I'm not calling.
Martha, right now is the Medicare annual enrollment period. 2024 plans are now available, so now's the time to call. So everyone on Medicare should call now during the Medicare annual enrollment period and get your free Medicare benefits checkup today. Just call the toll-free number on your screen. It's free.
free?
Yes, Martha. The call and no obligation Medicare benefits checkup is free. They can look up your plan options and let you know if you're eligible to enroll in a 2024 Medicare Advantage plan. Available in your zip code. Call now and we will see what plans may be best for you.
It's time for me to call and get my free, no obligation Medicare benefits review.
That's right, Martha. I should have just given you the toll-free number. It's on everyone's TV screen now. Call 800-882-0987. 800-882-0987.
So many hotels.
Trouble booking the family vacay? Come on. Comfort does free hot breakfast for the whole fam.
They have waffles.
And splendid pools. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
Remember space and legroom? That's more like it. The three-row Lexus DX.
In his almost 4-decade-long military career, retired General David Petraeus faced plenty of insurgencies, mainly Iraq and Afghanistan. What do his insights from an extraordinary career tell us about this new war between Israel and Hamas? David Petraeus joins me now alongside the historian Andrew Roberts. The two are co-authors of the new book, Conflict, The Evolution of Warfare from 1945 to Ukraine. Andrew is, of course, now Baron Roberts of Belgravia, had been elevated to the peerage. Dave, let me start with you. This issue of destroying Hamas, is that a realistic goal?
I think it is a realistic goal, but it's going to be exceedingly difficult. We've seen how long it takes to clear cities roughly the size of Gaza City, 9 months for the Iraqi security forces to clear the Islamic State out of Mosul, as an example, with our assistance. IDF much better, much more capable, but still it's going to be very, very tough. And how they do it is very important. Again, we had a question on the wall always, will this operation take more bad guys off the street than it creates by its conduct? And you've got to be careful that the answer to that is going to be yes. And there has to also be a vision for the future. They can accomplish this mission, but then keep in mind that the definition of destroy in military doctrinal terms is render the enemy incapable of accomplishing his mission without reconstitution. So whatever it is that follows has to ensure that this cannot be reconstituted. Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad will try to come back, so that whatever it is that takes over from the Israelis, and they have to determine that urgently. Ehud Barak was absolutely right on that. But they're not going to just do humanitarian assistance and reconstruction. They're going to have to conduct a counterinsurgency campaign to keep Hamas and the Islamic Jihad from coming back.
When you did the search, one of the things that seemed to me so successful in that post-operation was you brokered a reconciliation between the Sunnis and the Shias politically.
Yes.
So, I mean, do you need some kind of political vision?
Very much so. There has to be a vision for the people in Gaza, for the Palestinians, that distinguishes very clearly. War is not on them. It's actually to make their lives better. If they will reject Hamas, their life will be better. By the way, the same for those in the West Bank. There has to be that. And again, what we did is we said to the Sunnis, if you'll break with Al-Qaeda in Iraq, support us first and then the government. And then later, the same with the Iranian-supported Shia militia, let's strip you away. And of course, we defeated then the other elements, the militia that remained, and also Al-Qaeda in Iraq and the Sunni insurgent groups. So that vision is crucial. And again, I think Ehud Barak had that exactly right as well.
A quick thought on Hezbollah before I go to... Do you think Hezbollah will launch a serious attack from the north?
I don't think they want to do that, but the pressure will grow as the damage and destruction. Inevitably, there are going to be civilian casualties. Urban combat is fiendishly difficult, and I can't imagine a context that is more difficult than this one. Hundreds of miles of tunnels, suicide bombers, enemy that doesn't wear uniforms, uses human shields, civilians, and of course the over 200 hostages that are still there. So that's going to be very, very challenging for them. And again, you have to have this vision that's going to try to separate the people from Hamas. Again, also in the West Bank as well. Hezbollah, though, got hammered in 2006, much worse than we realized at the time. We reassessed it several occasions. They'll do the occasional attacks and all the rest of that, I don't think they want to launch all 150,000 rockets, which would be devastating for Israel, but then would be even more devastating for Hezbollah, and they know that.
And can I just add that operationally, of course, it's also very good for Israel to be able to promise the Palestinian Arabs that they will be able to go back to Gaza, because then you could physically also separate them from the Hamas that you're trying to fight in Gaza City.
Lots in history that bears that out.
Historically, you talk about Malaysia as being one of the great successes of counterinsurgency. What do you draw as the key lesson to succeeding in a counterinsurgency?
Well, the way that Malaysia worked is that they were able to offer the people independence. Malaysia became independent in 1957, and that was immensely important in winning what was said at the time to be the hearts and minds.
That phrase was coined.
That was the phrase, yes, exactly.
And they matter, and they matter here as well.
And Sir Gerald Templer coined that phrase, and it worked. And it wasn't just in Malaysia, it also worked in the Oman campaign, where they were able to offer progress, actual physical, educational, agricultural, medical progress. And that's also something that obviously could be an important part to play here.
All right, stay with us. Next up, I'm going to talk to General Petraeus and Lord Roberts about the other major conflict in the world right now, Ukraine, which we might have forgotten about, but is still going on. When we come back.
Tonight, how did Hamas orchestrate their massive attack on Israel? Sarah Seidner explores the history of this secretive and dangerous terror group and what comes next. The whole story with Anderson Cooper, tonight at 10 on CNN.
Verizon Small Business Days are back from October 16th to the 22nd. Get a free tech check and special offers like a free 5G phone. Plus, switch, keep your number, and get up to $300 off with Verizon Business. It's your business. It's your Verizon.
Introducing John and Mark. They're both on Original Medicare. However, they've approached this year's Medicare annual enrollment period a little differently. John's had a few medical appointments this month, and he's starting to get worried about his out-of-pocket expenses. He has not called for his Medicare benefits review and is only on Original Medicare.
I found out that Original Medicare doesn't cover routine dental, routine vision, or most prescription drugs.
Mark, on the other hand, well, he called and enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan available in his zip code, which has additional benefits not covered under Original Medicare.
You just have to call and see what plan may be best for you.
Mark knows that Original Medicare only covers so much, and it doesn't cover things like routine dental, routine vision, or most prescription drugs. He wants to know why his friend doesn't have a plan with additional benefits.
John, haven't you heard about Medicare Advantage plans? Wait, so you're saying that Medicare Advantage plans may have additional benefits not covered under Original Medicare?
John knew what he should do next. He called the number on the screen. He gave the agent his zip code.
Really? I could get a Medicare Advantage plan with additional benefits in my zip code?
That's right, John. 2024 Medicare Advantage plans are now available during the Medicare annual enrollment period. Call 800-726-5909 to speak with a licensed insurance agent and see what plans may be best for you. The call and Medicare benefits review are free. Remember, you don't automatically get enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan with additional benefits. Be like John and Mark. Call the number on your screen now to learn more about Medicare Advantage plans from Humana, Aetna, Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield, United Healthcare, WellCare, and more. The call and Medicare benefits review are absolutely free. Call 800-726-5909. 800-726-5909. 800-726-5909.
Pano AI chooses T-Mobile for Business for 5G solutions because T-Mobile helps Pano AI innovate so they can stop the spread of wildfires. Now's the time to see what America's largest 5G network can do for your business.
The Lead with Jake Tapper, CNN, tomorrow at 4.
You want to see a trick?
Sure.
I can make anything you want appear on that TV.
Superheroes.
Superheroes.
Well, cute animals.
Cute animals.
Wizards.
Wizards. Would you like my trick?
I saw the remote.
With you, keeping the whole family entertained. Search endless content with the magical Ignite TV voice remote. Rogers, with you all the way.
Look,
law passed by Congress now allows veterans and survivors to seek damages for harm from exposure to contaminated water at Camp Lejeune. Call Saddle Rock Legal Group to discuss your case now.
Call 1-800-814-9977.
It's Gloriana. Gloriana, jewelry you'll love. Visit us in-store or online.
I'm Erin Burnett in Tel Aviv, and this is CNN.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Audiobook Network. Authors tell your story. Produce an audiobook with us.
Want to earn more profits and find a new audience for your published book? Produce an audiobook. We handle narration, production, and digital distribution.
800-753-8559.
We are going to pivot to the world's other major war in Ukraine. The long-awaited Ukrainian counteroffensive is stretching into its 5th month, and many in the West remain concerned that it is lagging. As winter approaches, what hope does Ukraine have against its much bigger, more powerful adversary? We are back with General David Petraeus and the great historian Andrew Roberts. Both of you have been to Kyiv and to Ukraine. In fact, and you were there just a few weeks ago. The conventional wisdom is the Ukrainian counteroffensive has not gone as well as planned. The Russians are fighting back better, harder, smarter. What can you tell us about all this?
Well, first of all, I think one of the key factors I'm watching for is, do the Russians actually crack and crumble at some point? No plan survives contact with the enemy. The Ukrainian plan did not. They had to adjust from armored breaching. The minefields are just much longer, deeper than anyone realized. So they've used infantry squads. That means you're going to gain 100, 150 meters a day as opposed to several meters if you get a breakthrough. The pressure, though, has been unrelenting on the Russians, and I think we need to see where that does lead. They intend, this is not just a summer and a fall offensive. They're going to fight all winter, and they've stated that publicly. Beyond that, we tend to overlook what they've done against Crimea, and the Russian bases there. The naval base of Sevastopol has had to be evacuated basically because of the Russian losses due to the very diabolically clever maritime drones that Ukraine has developed. Ukraine hit the actual headquarters of the Black Sea Fleet during their command and staff meeting. They're reducing the capabilities of the airfield. This all takes time, though, and what they're trying to do is to reduce the logistical capacity to support these forces so that at some point in time, again, they might achieve that kind of breakthrough. But no, I think it's accurate to say that the hopes for the counteroffensive had not been fully realized, but it's not over, and they're still driving to be able to cut that key line of communications that comes in from Russia along the southeast and southern coast.
Andrew, when I look at Russian history, the thing that worries me is they seem to be able to fight very long wars with very large numbers of casualties.
They do when they're on the defensive, and that's very true historically, but actually they're not that good on the offensive. And this, Russian soldiers recognize that this is an offensive war into somebody else's country. And historically there, it hasn't been such a happy prospect. The other thing, of course, and something that comes out very strongly from our book, is how important morale is. And the morale of an army that has taken a very serious bloody nose and also doesn't necessarily see any quick way to victory is going to be less than the Ukrainian army, which has still not the same kind of morale that it did at the early stages of this war, but still of a, historically at least, at a level that can win a victory.
In a sense, is the Ukrainian situation a little bit like, say, the Algerians? You know, the French, the Algerians trying to get independence. The French say, no, we're going to... The French, by some accounts, killed 1 million Algerians, but the Algerians never gave up.
That's right, and also, of course, the other thing you saw in the Algerian war was the horrific use of torture and brutal viciousness, which you're also seeing with the way in which the Russians are treating ordinary Ukrainian people, and that ultimately has the effect of just enraging the population and in a sense helping its morale to want to push through to ultimate victory.
Has President Biden been handling Ukraine well in your opinion?
I think he, together with Congress, actually have led the effort much better, certainly than Vladimir Putin expected, and I think quite impressively. $44 billion worth of assistance is a very substantial amount. We do need to continue to do more. I hope Congress can come together on that issue. There have been decisions I felt that should have been made more rapidly. Some of the capabilities that Ukraine did not have during the summer might have been there and might have helped them more than marginally, I think. But by and large, I think the U.S. has led well, effectively, kept NATO together, kept the Western world together, kept Russia from driving a wedge between Europe and North America, and also led the effort on the personal, economic, and financial sanctions and export controls, and now going after the sanctions evaders very effectively as well.
The Russian strategy, clearly, as far as I can tell, is to wait until November 2024, hope that Trump gets elected, hope they can cut a deal where Trump will essentially sell the Ukrainians down the river. What do you say about that?
Well, I think it's a concern what the outcome of the election is, without question. Will someone be elected who might actually not support this effort, which I think is as right versus wrong as anything in recent memory, except until what happened on 7 October, which was also absolutely horrific. And keep in mind, when we think about that, that would be the equivalent of America having lost 50,000 innocent civilians on 9/11, as opposed to the nearly 3,000 that we lost.
Final question, Andrew. This is an extraordinary book. How did the two of you write it across the Atlantic?
Well, we got together immediately after the Russian invasion and decided that we were going to write this book, and we divvied up the chapters by saying, I said to you that David would work on all the chapters of the countries he's invaded and Vietnam, and I did the rest.
All right. Must have been lots of emails. Thank you both.
Thousands.
Amazing, amazing book.
Thank you for.
And thanks to all of you for being part of my program this week. I will see you next week.
The new CNN Prime Time is where the truth shines. The day's biggest stories. The night's most essential reporting. This is the new CNN Prime Time. Weeknights starting at 7 on CNN.
Verizon Small Business Days are back from October 16th to the 22nd. Get a free tech check and special offers like a free 5G phone. Plus, switch, keep your number, and get up to $300 off with Verizon Business. It's your business. It's your Verizon.
Which hotel? Somebody say which hotel? I'm great at this. Dance your thieves in the spa-like bathroom. Or enjoy local craft beers with breathtaking views at the Cambria. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. If you have or are eligible for Medicaid, please listen closely. You may be eligible for a Medicare Advantage plan from WellCare with a zero or low plan premium. Call now. We can answer your questions and help you enroll over the phone. WellCare provides access to essential benefits that go beyond original Medicare, such as dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage with free home delivery. Free over-the-counter healthcare items, free gym membership, and home-delivered meals. Plus, extra benefits like WellCare's telehealth services, including online doctor visits. WellCare's contracted with Medicare to provide plans that may be perfect for you. Call 1-877-297-3598. Now, that's 1-877-297-3598. WellCare.
MLB chooses T-Mobile for Business for 5G solutions to not only enhance the fan experience, but to advance how the game is played. Now's the time to see what America's largest 5G network can do for your business.
That grimy film on your teeth.
Dr. G?
It's actually the buildup of plaque bacteria, which can cause cavities.
Most toothpaste quit working in minutes, but Crest Pro Health's antibacterial fluoride protects all day.
They stop cavities before they start.
Crest.
My most important kitchen tool? My brain. So I choose new Nariva Ultra. Unlike some others, it supports 7 brain health indicators, including mental alertness, from one serving to help keep me sharp. Try new Nariva Ultra. Think bigger.
Every day, more dog people and more vets are deciding it's time for a fresh approach to pet food. They're quitting the kibble and kicking the cans and feeding their dogs dog food that's actually, well, food. Developed with vets, made from real meat and veggies, portioned for your dog, and delivered right to your door. It's smarter, healthier pet food. Get 50% off your first box at thefarmersdog.com/realfood.
People thinking my daughter is my sister, that never gets old. With Ceravital Advanced, I wake up refreshed.
Ceravital Advanced is an award-winning beauty supplement at Ulta. Get started today at ceravital.com.
The Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer, tomorrow at 6 on CNN.
Stop! I am a good zombie!
This October, spirits come home to rest all month long.
This place is really haunted. What a weird mystery.
With Hollow Stream on Disney+.
We're gonna scare you. Boom.
Home is where the hunt is.
It's time.
Dad's hair loss treatment. People all over the country trust Bosley because they're ahead of the curve. They use the latest technology to give you your real hair back. And the best part, Bosley's permanent solution is protected by the Bosley Guarantee. Let them show you for free how awesome your hair could look with an absolutely free information kit and a gift card for $250 off. Scan the QR code. Don't wait. Scan the code now and ask about the Bosley Guarantee.
I'm Manu Raja on Capitol Hill, and this is CNN. Hello, I'm Wolf Blitzer in Washington alongside Frederica Whitfield in Atlanta. We're watching all the breaking news. We want to welcome our viewers here in the United States and around the world. We begin with our special coverage with the quickly escalating developments in both Israel and Gaza, and a warning. Some of what you are about to see is graphic. Israel Defense Forces now confirmed that their troops clashed with Hamas fighters inside Gaza today, marking just the second time Israeli forces have admitted to operating in the enclave since the Hamas terror attack took place some 2 weeks ago. It is yet another bloody day in central Gaza, where a new barrage of Israeli airstrikes hit targets overnight. Israel also launching a rare aerial attack on a mosque in the West Bank. The IDF says it thwarted an imminent terror attack from inside that mosque, but the Palestinian Authority calls it a dangerous escalation. The IDF is vowing to increase its aerial bombardment of Gaza just ahead of a potential ground incursion by Israel against Hamas in Gaza. This is the grim reality for so many in the Gaza Strip. These are the lifeless bodies of a toddler and 3 children killed in overnight airstrikes. Their parents have written the children's names on their legs to identify them. With the bloodshed and humanitarian crisis right now clearly growing, much more needed relief appears to be on its way into southern Gaza. 15 aid trucks from Egypt are being inspected right now in the Rafah border crossing area, just 1 day after the first convoy of about 20 trucks was allowed into Gaza. For more on all the late-breaking developments in the Middle East, I want to go to CNN's Matthew Chance. He's joining us live from northern Israel. Matthew, we're learning of a clash today, first of all, between Israeli and Hamas forces inside Gaza. What appears to be one of the first skirmishes on the ground between the two sides since the war broke out some 2 weeks ago. So what are you hearing? What's the latest?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this isn't necessarily the start of the much anticipated grand invasion of the Gaza Strip by Israeli forces, where tens of thousands of troops have gathered near the frontier with Gaza in preparation from that. But clearly Israel has been conducting pinpoint operations into the Gaza Strip to try and collect evidence of the whereabouts, for instance, of the 200 or more hostages believed to still be held by Hamas inside Gaza. And this was, I think, the first time we've heard about that there was an actual confrontation on the ground between Hamas fighters in Gaza and Israeli forces going in. The Israeli military say at least 1 soldier was killed and a few others injured as well in that confrontation. But it just gives you a small indication of how difficult it is going to be, and how bloody it's going to be as well, if and when that ground invasion takes place. Gaza is an extraordinarily difficult terrain to occupy. It's got narrow streets, it's got flattened concrete buildings everywhere, which provide all sorts of cover for snipers And don't forget the network of tunnels that runs underneath it as well, which Hamas and other militant groups know very well and of course dug themselves for their use. That poses a massive threat to Israeli forces, and what we've seen today is a very early indication of that, Wolf.
Good point. Matthew, the IDF also says they launched an airstrike in the West Bank. So tell us what we know about that. What happened there?
Yeah, the West Bank town of Jenin, which is, right there in the middle of Palestinian-controlled territory. It was a mosque in Jenin that was struck by the Israeli Defense Forces. The IDF says that it had intercepted intelligence, essentially, that indicated there was an attack being planned from beneath the mosque, from the basement of the mosque, by Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad, two prominent, of course, Palestinian militant groups, and it acted to prevent that terrorist attack from taking place. Of course, Palestinians have been, absolutely, they condemned this attack, the Palestinian leadership saying it is an escalation, but it all adds to the sense of hostility and violence and tension that is really gripping this region. Wolf.
As if that were not enough, the IDF also says, Matthew, there is an escalating situation right where you are in northern Israel, not far from the southern Lebanese border, as Hezbollah militants in South Lebanon have been attacking Israeli positions. What are you seeing where you are? Tell our viewers what you're seeing and what you're hearing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's dark now, but it's very tense here up in northern Israel. The virtually the entire population of this town, of Kiryat Shimona, and dozens of other towns and villages across this region have been evacuated to areas where it's more safe, out of the range of Hezbollah rockets. Hezbollah, of course, the Iranian-backed militia inside southern Lebanon. Hundreds of thousands of Israelis have essentially been displaced from their homes because of the threat of Hezbollah attack. That threat, according to the IDF, has been growing over the past week or so, with more rocket attacks aimed at the Israeli border and cross-border attacks, drones flying in the skies above Kiryat Shimona, even penetrations by militants from inside Lebanon, either Hezbollah or Palestinian militant factions, coming across the border and carrying out attacks inside Israel as well. They've been responded to, of course, by the Israeli Defense Forces, but what Israelis say, what the Israeli government says, is that their patience won't last forever, and that if there is, sufficient escalation on the part of the Lebanese side and the part of Hezbollah, they will strike back in force. And they've been issuing very overt warnings that Hezbollah may be dragging Lebanon into a war that it will lose. Wolf.
And very quickly, Matthew, that town of Kiryat Shimona in northern Israel, not far from Lebanon, it's a town of about 20,000 people. I take it the Israeli military told everyone in Kiryat Shimona to evacuate. Have they done so? Is the town pretty much empty right now?
Yeah, most of them have evacuated. It wasn't a mandatory evacuation. It's not mandatory for any of these communities, in fact. They're just being strongly advised because of the security situation to get out, and they're being helped to do so and put in guest houses if they haven't got anywhere else to stay. Most people, I would say, in Kiryat Shimona at least, have taken that advice and they've left. But you are seeing people coming back sort of in the daytime to check on their houses and to cook meals for the army and things like that. So it's not entirely empty at the moment.
Matthew Chance in northern Israel for us. Stay safe over there, Matthew. Thank you very much. We'll check back with you soon. CNN is also learning about a new push from the Biden administration to try to delay a possible full-scale Israeli ground incursion into Gaza. Our chief national security correspondent Alex Marquardt is joining us, and our CNN White House reporter Priscilla Alvarez is monitoring all these developments as well. Priscilla, let me start with you. You're in Rehoboth Beach. That's where the president is right now. We just learned that President Biden spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just a little while ago. Tell us what you're hearing about that call.
That's right, Wolf, and they have been speaking multiple times since that attack on October 7th. In fact, the last time they spoke was on Friday. Now, we have not yet received a readout of what exactly was said in the call, but we know that in these conversations, President Biden has talked about the ongoing support that the U.S. is providing to Israel, as well as discussing the hostages that are still being held by Hamas, and also generally the U.S. position when it comes to this conflict, being that innocent civilians should be protected, and the importance of getting humanitarian aid to Gaza, some of which we saw some progress on over the course of the weekend. Now, the president just yesterday here in Rehoboth was asked about whether the administration is trying to delay an invasion by Israel. Take a listen to what the president had to say.
Are you encouraging the Israelis to delay invasion?
Now, this is a working weekend for the president, who was also briefed today by his national security team. So all White House officials and the president himself carefully watching the developments in Israel and Gaza. Wolf.
Extremely tense moment right now. Alex, you've got some news. I take it a senior Israeli official is denying that the Biden administration is pressing for a delay of an Israeli incursion into Gaza. What exactly are you hearing from the U.S. side and the Israeli side as far as the U.S. asking Israel to delay their incursion?
Well, the Israelis are denying this. You did hear just there that the president, when he was asked whether they're pressing the Israelis to delay any kind of incursion into Gaza, he didn't say no. He just said he's speaking with the Israelis, and we heard from Secretary of State Antony Blinken earlier today, who essentially said that this is a decision that Israel has to make. The U.S. certainly doesn't want to be seen telling Israel what to do. But Wolf, what I've been told by two different sources is that the Biden administration has been pressing the Israelis to allow for a bit more time to allow for progress on both the hostages and on the humanitarian aid to get into Gaza. We've seen today aid successfully getting into Gaza. We've also seen on Friday those 2 American hostages who were released. There's still some 200 hostages that the U.S. and many other countries desperately want to get out, that Qatar is working on with Hamas to try to negotiate their release. So these sources are telling me that the Biden administration would like more time before Israel launches that ground invasion into Gaza. Now, the Israelis are saying that the Biden administration is not pressing for that, but it is clear, as Priscilla was just mentioning, that while the U.S. is showing or really speaking to their full-throated support for Israel, both militarily and politically, there are major concerns about that aid for Gazans and about getting those hostages out. Wolf?
Certainly are. I understand, Alex, and this is very curious, I want your explanation, that the State Department has now ordered all non-emergency U.S. government personnel to leave Iraq. Tell us about that.
Non-emergency personnel as well as family members to leave Iraq. This comes as the State Department has issued what they call a level 4 travel advisory, which is essentially telling Americans not to go to Iraq, and it really speaks to the growing fear of a broadening conflict and how American citizens may be targeted. Wolf, we've seen a series of attacks against U.S. forces, against U.S. interests over the past week in Iraq and elsewhere. As recently as Friday, we saw a rocket attack near Baghdad airport that was targeting a U.S. diplomatic facility. So now the State Department is telling Americans not to go. They are announcing that non-essential personnel, family members, can leave Baghdad. Iraq is home to a number of these proxy groups that are backed by Iran, and there is significant concern that Iran will press those proxy groups to target U.S. personnel around the region. This is a warning that we heard from the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, earlier today, Wolf.
It's interesting because it comes at the same time that the State Department has just issued a worldwide alert for all Americans traveling abroad to use, quote, increased caution. Tell us about this worldwide alert. It's pretty extraordinary.
It's pretty extraordinary. It's quite dramatic, and that does reflect the concern, again, to American citizens, not just in the region around the world. It's not something that happens very often. The last time we saw this was last summer after the killing, the American killing of Ayman al-Zawahiri, the head of al-Qaeda. He was in Afghanistan, and so what this does is tell Americans around the world to be on alert. And Wolf, what I really think it speaks to is a lot more anger that is being directed these days at the American government and as a result at American citizens because of the support for Israel. Since the horrific attacks by Hamas on October 7th, the U.S. has said that they will stand, of course, with Israel, and now we're hearing about billions of dollars in aid that the Biden administration is asking for to give Israel more military aid, and that has resulted in a real spike in anger against the U.S. and against the citizens. So here you have the State Department issuing this rare warning to tell citizens globally to remain alert.
Well, very alert indeed. Alex Marquardt, thank you. Priscilla Alvarez, thanks to you as well. Joining us now, Tom Nides. He's the former U.S. ambassador to Israel. He served in that post under the Biden administration until July of this year. We also want to mention that the ambassador's wife, Virginia Mosley, is a senior executive here at CNN. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us. First of all, what's your reaction to our latest CNN reporting that the U.S. government is pressing Israel to delay its ground operations of Gaza to allow for more time for Hamas to release more hostages, potentially? Do you think this is the right move?
Well, first of all, Wolf, I think it's clear by the president's words and actions that he has sent us three very clear messages. One, we've got Israel's back, without question. Second, sending a very stark warning to those forces, especially Lebanon and Hezbollah, and obviously Iran. Biden likes to say, superpowers don't bluff, so stay out of this. And third is the humanitarian crisis, which is already enormous, and I think the president has expressed enormous sympathy. The war we are in is not a war with the Palestinian people. It's a war with Hamas. Israel is at the war with Hamas, who did and started this, and that is what we're focused on. But to be clear, it's imperative that we provide the ability for those suffering, those Palestinians who are down south and in Gaza, get the ability to be able to live as well as they can under the circumstances. So the president is
a cautionary alert for Americans throughout the world. Be careful. A cautionary alert for Americans throughout the world. Be careful. Alert.
My heart just breaks for these families.
Alert. Alert. Be aware.
Children, mothers, fathers, sick people, injured people. What barbaric behavior will create this? So I don't know.
Barbaric behavior on the part of Hamas. Barbaric behavior on the part of Hamas. Look out. Be cautious. Be aware. Alert, alert, alert for all Americans traveling throughout the world at this time.
Wolf, you've studied Israel for a long time, and I've obviously spent time there. I don't know. I think that they're very much focused on eliminating the threat to the state of Israel. Hamas's only goal, to be clear, is not a goal about taking care of the Palestinian people or a two-state solution or making Palestinians live in a better situation. It's about the destruction of the state of Israel. And as the President Biden has said and the Vice President have said, we stand by Israel to help eliminate that threat to Israel. What comes next will take a lot of work among our allies, among the Gulf countries, to try to figure out how that is going to sustain. I think the President has articulated this. I don't think anyone believes that Israel will occupy Gaza, but they're going to have to figure this out. And it's clearly not something that there's a game plan for this. As you know, President Abbas in the West Bank, he hates Hamas. So the combination of this complication is, but first things first, they've got to eliminate the threat to the state of Israel, and they need to eliminate that threat of Hamas to the men and women who are going through a torturous time right now in the state of Israel.
The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is warning Hezbollah in South Lebanon that if it joins this war, it will be devastating for the areas it controls in southern Lebanon. How concerned are you, Ambassador, about this conflict right now between Israel and Hamas expanding into a much wider regional war?
I'm concerned. I think we're all concerned, which is why the President has been very clear, and Secretary Blinken's been very clear on the region. Don't screw around on this. Be careful, Hezbollah. Be careful, Iran. There's a reason why two very large ships with a lot of soldiers are in the Mediterranean. Again, as I repeat, the President likes to say superpowers don't bluff. I think they need to take a quick step back, to make sure we understand, they understand, the United States has Israel's back, and we are not going to stand by and let them do a two-front war between Hamas trying to destroy the state of Israel and then ultimately having Hezbollah and Iran's proxy join in.
Ambassador Tom Knights, thanks so much for joining us.
Superpowers don't bluff. Superpowers don't bluff. Superpowers don't bluff. Superpowers don't bluff. They don't bluff. Superpowers won't bluff. They don't bluff.
I suffer with psoriatic arthritis and psoriasis. I was on a journey for a really long time to find some relief. Cosentyx works for me.
Cosentyx helps real people get